Who's holding the trapdoor? I never thought I'd become invisible in my own son's house. But there I was, 72 years old, sitting at the kitchen table while my daughter-in-law Emma walked past me like I was a piece of furniture. "Emma, could you help me reach my medication?" I asked softly. She didn't even turn around, just kept scrolling on her phone, her perfectly manicured nails tapping the screen. My son Michael had convinced me to move in 6 months earlier. "Mom, you can't live alone anymore," he'd said. "We'll take care of you." I'd sold my little house, the one I'd paid off after 30 years of work, the one with my garden and my memories. I gave them the money to help with their mortgage. Thought I was investing in family. Thought I was securing my future. But that morning, watching Emma ignore me while I struggled to stand, my hips screaming in pain, that's when I felt it, that sinking realization that I'd made the biggest mistake of my life. And honey, I hadn't seen anything yet. Because what Emma did next made me question everything I thought I knew about my own son. The cold leftovers incident. 3 days later, dinner time rolled around. I smelled roasted chicken, fresh mashed potatoes, the works. My stomach growled. I hadn't eaten since breakfast, a single piece of toast I'd made myself because Emma forgot to make me anything. I shuffled to the dining room, my walker squeaking on their hardwood floors. The whole family was there. Michael, Emma, and their 2 teenagers, Sophia and Jake. The table was beautiful. Candles. Good dishes. The kind of spread you'd see in a magazine. "Oh, you're eating with us tonight?" Emma said, her voice dripping with fake surprise. "Sure, Mom, sit down," Michael said, barely looking up from his phone. Emma disappeared into the kitchen, came back with a plate for me. I looked down. Cold leftover casserole from 3 days ago. The edges were crusty. It smelled off. Meanwhile, everyone else had fresh, hot food piled on their plates. "This is what we have for you," Emma said sweetly, that practiced smile on her face. "We're trying to reduce food waste, you understand." My throat tightened. The kids wouldn't even look at me. But I said nothing. Not yet. Because I didn't know that Michael was in on it too. What happened with my son? Michael was my miracle baby. I'd had 3 miscarriages before him. Nearly died giving birth. His father left when Michael was 2, just walked out and never sent a dime. So I worked 2 jobs. Cleaned houses during the day, waited tables at night. I wore shoes with holes in them so Michael could have new sneakers for school. I skipped meals so he could have seconds. When he got into college, I took out loans I'm still paying off. Well, I was still paying them off until 6 months ago. Every Mother's Day he'd say, "Mom, I owe you everything." Every Christmas, "I'm gonna take care of you when you're old, I promise." I believed him. God, I believed him. So when he called me after I fell in my bathroom and said, "Mom, enough is enough, you're moving in with us," I cried with relief. I thought my baby was finally keeping his promise. I thought I'd finally get to rest. But that night with the cold leftovers, I watched him laugh at something on his phone while I choked down spoiled food. And then I overheard the conversation that shattered my heart into a million pieces. Discovering the real problem. 3 weeks after the leftovers incident, I couldn't sleep. Pain in my hip kept me awake. I got up to get water around midnight, moving slow and quiet with my walker. That's when I heard voices from Michael and Emma's bedroom. Their door was cracked open just a bit. "I can't do this anymore," Emma hissed. "She's driving me crazy. She's always there. Always needing something." "Babe, keep your voice down," Michael said. "I know, but what do you want me to do?" "I want you to keep your promise," Emma snapped. "You said 6 months tops. You said we'd get her money, fix up the house, and then she'd go to a home. It's been 6 months, Michael." My heart stopped. The water glass in my hand started shaking. "We spent most of her money already," Michael said quietly. "The kitchen renovation, the trip to Cancun, Jake's car. Then get the rest," Emma interrupted. "She must have Social Security savings something. We didn't take her in out of love, Michael. We took her in because we needed the money." I stood there in the dark hallway, and for the first time in my life, I understood what betrayal truly felt like. I don't know how long I stood there. Could have been 5 minutes. Could have been an hour. My legs were shaking but I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. The son I'd sacrificed everything for had scammed me. That's what this was. A con. They targeted me like I was some mark in a crime show. Not family. Not love. Money. I thought about every time I'd gone without so he could have more. Every birthday I'd worked double shifts to buy him what he wanted. Every night I'd fallen asleep exhausted, my body aching, telling myself it would all be worth it when my boy grew up. And this is what I got. This is what my love bought me. I backed away from their door, my walker wheels squeaking softly. Made it back to my room, the smallest bedroom in the house, the one that used to be their storage closet. I sat on the edge of my bed in the dark, and something inside me shifted. The sadness turned into something else. Something harder. Something that felt like steel forming in my chest. Because I realized something important that night. I wasn't dead yet. And I still had fight left in me. Next morning I watched them differently. Emma made breakfast for everyone but me. Michael kissed her cheek, grabbed his coffee, rushed out for work. Same routine as always. But now I saw it for what it was. A performance. They were performing normal family, while systematically breaking me down. Emma, I said, my voice stronger than yesterday. We need to talk. She glanced at me, annoyed. I'm busy. The kids need lunches made. It's important. So is feeding my children, she snapped. Unlike some people, I actually contribute to this household. There it was. The mask slipping. I gave you $73,000, I said quietly. Her hand stopped moving. She turned to face me, and for just a second I saw something flicker in her eyes. Fear. Maybe. That money was a gift, she said carefully. A gift from a mother to help her son. Was it? I asked. Or was it payment for care you never intended to give? Her jaw clenched. I don't know what you think you heard. I heard everything, I said. Last night. Every word. And that's when Emma's sweet voice turned into pure venom. Emma's face transformed. The fake sweetness vanished. Her eyes went cold like a shark's eyes. Dead and calculating. You think you're smart, she said, stepping closer. You think you can threaten me in my own house? This was supposed to be my house too, I said, standing my ground even though my legs were shaking. You're living here out of charity, she hissed. Your son took pity on you because you're pathetic and alone. Nobody else wanted you. Your friends are dead or forgot about you. You have nowhere to go. Each word was designed to cut, and they did. But I didn't let her see it. I want my money back, I said. Emma laughed. Actually laughed. What money? You gave us a gift. You have no proof it was anything else. No contract. No agreement. Just a foolish old woman giving away her savings to feel important. Michael promised. Michael says what I tell him to say, Emma interrupted. And right now? He thinks you're getting confused. Forgetful. Maybe even a little. She tapped her temple. Unstable. That's when I realized she'd been planning this all along. And I was running out of time. Over the next week, things got worse. Way worse. Emma started doing little things. Moving my stuff. Mom, you already took your pills this morning, she'd say when I hadn't. Remember? You told me your hip was feeling better. I'd find my reading glasses in strange places. My TV remote would disappear. My mail stopped coming. Emma said she'd handle it for me. Michael started looking at me with concern. Mom, Emma says you're getting confused. Forgetting things. Maybe we should take you to the doctor. I'm not confused, I insisted. She's lying to you. Why would she lie? He asked, and he genuinely looked puzzled. Like he couldn't imagine his precious wife being capable of deception. She's gaslighting me, I said. Making me look crazy so you won't believe me about what I heard. Michael sighed like I was a child throwing a tantrum. Mom, you're stressed. Change is hard at your age. Maybe some medication would help you adjust. Medication. They wanted to drug me into compliance. Make me foggy and confused for real. Easier to control. Easier to drain. But I had one advantage they didn't know about. Something I'd kept secret my entire life. Here's what Emma and Michael didn't know. I wasn't some helpless old lady who'd never had a brain in her head. Before I had Michael, before his father left, I'd been in school. Studying law. I'd completed 2 years before I had to drop out because of the pregnancy, the abandonment, the survival mode that became my life. But I never forgot what I learned. Contract law. Property law. Elder abuse statutes. I kept my textbooks all these years stored in boxes in my old house. And before I moved in with Michael, I'd packed one of those books in my suitcase. The one about family law and financial exploitation. Every night after they'd go to bed, I'd read by the light of my phone, educating myself, preparing myself for a war I didn't even know was coming yet. And now I was grateful for that instinct. I also had something else they didn't know about. A friend, Carol. We'd worked together waitressing 40 years ago. She'd become a paralegal. We'd stayed in touch through Christmas cards and occasional calls. It was time to make a call that would change everything. I waited until Michael and Emma went to some parent-teacher conference for Jake. I had maybe 2 hours. My hand shook as I dialed Carol's number. Hadn't talked to her in months. Hello. Her voice was exactly like I remembered. Warm. Real. Carol, it's Margaret. I need help. I told her everything. The money. The promises. The overheard conversation. The gaslighting. The cold leftovers and the isolation. My voice cracked a few times, but I pushed through. When I finished, there was silence. Then, oh honey. Oh Margaret. I'm so sorry. Those 4 words made me cry harder than anything Emma had done. Because Carol believed me. She didn't question. Didn't suggest I was confused. Just believed me. Can you get to a phone and call me regularly? She asked. Without them knowing? I think so, I said. Good. Because we're going to document everything. Every incident. Dates, times, witnesses if possible. And Margaret? You're going to need a lawyer. I don't have money for a lawyer, I whispered. They took it all. You let me worry about that, Carol said firmly. Because Carol knew someone. A lawyer who specialized in cases exactly like mine. And she owed Carol a favor. The lawyer enters. Carol arranged for me to meet her lawyer friend at a coffee shop 3 blocks from Michael's house. I told Emma I was going for a walk. Doctor said I needed exercise. She barely looked up from her phone. Whatever. Be back in an hour. The lawyer's name was Patricia Chun. Mid-50s, sharp eyes, expensive suit. She didn't waste time. Tell me everything, she said, opening a legal pad. I did. When I got to the part about overhearing their conversation, she held up her hand. Did you record it? No, I didn't think to. Can you get recordings now? Your phone has a voice memo app. I hadn't thought of that. Felt stupid. I'm not good with technology, I admitted. Patricia's expression softened. That's okay. We'll work with what we have. Here's what I can tell you. What they're doing is financial exploitation of an elderly person. It's a crime in this state. It's also grounds for a civil lawsuit. My heart started beating faster. Can I get my money back? Patricia's answer wasn't what I expected, but it gave me something better than money. It gave me a plan. Getting your money back will be hard, Patricia said honestly. They'll claim it was a gift. No contract means no legal obligation. But, she leaned forward. We can make their lives very uncomfortable. And we can get you out of there safely. She explained the strategy. First, document everything. Photos of the cold food. Records of them eating better meals. Text messages. Any conversation I could safely record. Second, file a police report for financial exploitation. Even if it didn't result in charges, it created a paper trail. Third, and this was the big one, threaten them with a very public lawsuit. People like your son and daughter-in-law care about reputation, Patricia said. Pillars of the community, right? Nice house, good job, social media presence showing their perfect family. Yes, I whispered. They'd die if people knew the truth. Then we use that. We don't want a trial. Trials are expensive and uncertain. We want a settlement. We want them to return enough money for you to live independently. And we want them to be very, very motivated to leave you alone forever. But first, I had to do the scariest thing I'd ever done. I had to go back to that house and pretend nothing had changed. The next 2 weeks were the hardest of my life. I went back to that house and I smiled. I said good morning to Emma. I thanked Michael for letting me stay. I played the role of grateful, confused old mother. And I documented everything. When Emma served me instant noodles while they ate steak, I took a photo. Angled my phone just right. Made it look like I was texting someone. Got a clear shot of both plates. When Michael talked to Emma about finding a cheap nursing home. For me, I had my phone in my sweater pocket. Recording. When Emma told her friend on the phone that I was a burden they couldn't wait to dump, I was listening outside her door. Recording. I filled a notebook with dates, times, incidents. Emma wouldn't let me have clean towels, use the good ones herself. Michael forgot to refill my prescriptions twice, claimed he was too busy. They had a birthday party for Sophia. Didn't tell me about it. I heard the celebration from my room. Found out about it from photos they posted on Facebook later. And then one night, I got the evidence that would make them really scared. I was in my room, door cracked open like always. Easier to hear them that way. Emma and Michael were arguing in the kitchen. Your mother's social security check comes to her, not us, Emma said. We need to set up direct deposit into our account. I don't think that's legal, Michael said. He sounded uncertain. Who cares? She's not competent. We'll say we're managing her affairs. Power of attorney or whatever. We don't have power of attorney. Then get it, Emma snapped. Tell her it's for her protection. She'll sign anything if you act concerned enough. God, Michael, do I have to think of everything? My phone was recording every word. My hands were shaking so hard I nearly dropped it. This wasn't just exploitation anymore. This was fraud. Planned fraud. In writing, well, in audio, Emma was plotting to steal my social security. Patricia had told me. If you can get them admitting to future crimes, that's gold. That shows intent. I had intent. Clear as day. Emma's voice, cold and calculating, planning to rob me of the last income one had. I sent the recording to Patricia that night. Her response came fast. We're ready. Time to act. Setting up the family dinner. Patricia's plan was simple but terrifying. We'd have a family meeting. Formal. Serious. I'd request it, say I needed to discuss my future. Michael and Emma would agree because they'd think I was going to sign papers or maybe even die soon and discuss my will. What they wouldn't expect. Patricia would be there. And Carol. And another person, a social worker Patricia knew who specialized in elder abuse cases. We're not going to negotiate in that moment, Patricia explained during our prep meeting. We're going to present facts, evidence, and give them a choice. Settle with you quietly or face public legal action, police investigation, and social services intervention. What if they kick me out? I asked. The fear was real. Where would I go? You're not going back to that house after the meeting, Patricia said firmly. Carol's already agreed. You're staying with her starting the night of the confrontation. Your bags will be packed and in Carol's car. You're done being their victim, Margaret. Starting now. I called Michael that afternoon and asked for a family meeting. His response told me everything I needed to know. A family meeting? Sure, Mom. That's a great idea. Michael's voice was too eager. Too pleased. We've been wanting to talk to you about some things too. I bet they had. Probably had papers ready for me to sign. Power of attorney. Maybe worse. I'd like to do it this Saturday evening, I said. After dinner. 6 o'clock. Perfect. Emma will make something nice. Pot roast, your favorite. They'd never made my favorite anything. This was a performance. They thought they were closing in for the kill. And Michael? I'm going to have some friends there. For support. Silence. Then. Friends? What friends? People who care about me, I said simply. People I trust. Mom, this is a family matter. Then you won't mind them being there, I interrupted. Saturday. 6 o'clock. Don't make other plans. I hung up before he could argue. My heart was hammering. I'd just drawn a line in the sand. That night I packed my things. Everything that mattered. Photos. Important papers. My mother's jewelry, what little I had left. The law textbook. I left behind anything they bought me. Didn't want anything that tied me to them anymore. Saturday came faster than I expected. And I wasn't ready to face what I'd have to do. The uncomfortable family dinner. Saturday morning I barely ate. Couldn't. My stomach was in knots. Carol called me 3 times to make sure I was okay. You can back out, she said. You don't have to do this. Yes, I do, I told her. I have to do this for me. And for every other mother who's been used and thrown away. That afternoon, Emma actually did make pot roast. The smell filled the house. Any other time it would have made my mouth water. Today it made me nauseous. "Mom, you look pale," Michael said at 5:30. "You feeling okay?" "I'm fine," I lied. "Just tired." Emma set the table. The good china. Candles. She was in full hostess mode, playing perfect daughter-in-law for whatever audience she imagined. At 5:45 the doorbell rang. Emma frowned. "Who's that?" "My guests," I said, standing up. My legs felt like water, but I made them move. I walked to the door, opened it. Patricia stood there in her power suit, briefcase in hand. Carol right behind her. And behind them, Mrs. Rodriguez, the social worker. Official ID badge visible. You should have seen Emma's face. It was almost worth everything they'd put me through. "What is this?" Emma's voice went shrill. "Mom, what's going on?" Michael looked between me and the three women, confusion all over his face. "This is the family meeting I mentioned," I said calmly. "Everyone, please come in." Patricia walked past Emma like she owned the place. Carol squeezed my hand as she passed. Mrs. Rodriguez nodded professionally at Michael and Emma. We all sat down in the living room, the one I wasn't usually allowed to use because Emma said my walker scratched the floors. "I'm Patricia Chan, Mrs. Hartwell's attorney," Patricia said, pulling out documents. "This is Carol Morrison, a witness and advocate, and Mrs. Rodriguez from Adult Protective Services." "Adult Protective Services?" Michael's voice cracked. "Why?" "Because your mother has been the victim of financial exploitation and elder abuse," Patricia said flatly. "And we're here to discuss how you're going to make this right." Emma's face went white, then red. "This is ridiculous. Margaret, have you lost your mind? We've taken care of you. You took my money," I said quietly. $73,000. "And you never intended to care for me at all." That's when Patricia opened her briefcase and pulled out the evidence that made Emma's confident expression crumble. Patricia spread photos across the coffee table. Me with cold leftovers. Them with fresh meals. Dated. Time-stamped. "Here's documentation of nutritional neglect," Patricia said clinically. Then she pulled out printed text messages. "Here's Mrs. Emma Hartwell discussing with a friend how she can't stand having the old lady around and can't wait to dump her somewhere cheap." Emma's mouth opened but nothing came out. "And this," Patricia hit play on a small recorder, "is my personal favorite." Emma's voice filled the room. "We didn't take her in out of love, Michael. We took her in because we needed the money." Michael's face went gray. "Mom, I can explain. We also have this recording from last week," Patricia continued. Emma's voice again. "We'll get power of attorney. She'll sign anything if you act concerned enough." Mrs. Rodriguez was taking notes. Michael noticed. Wait, this is we never meant." "You meant every word," I said. My voice was shaking but strong. "I heard you. I heard both of you. And I'm not confused. I'm not forgetful. I'm not crazy. I'm your mother. And you tried to destroy me for money." Michael opened his mouth to defend himself. But Patricia wasn't done yet. Using my voice after years of silence. "Let me be very clear about your current situation," Patricia said, her lawyer voice cutting through the room like a knife. "Margaret has grounds to file criminal charges for financial exploitation of an elderly person. That's a felony in this state. She also has grounds for a civil lawsuit for fraud, breach of oral contract, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and elder abuse." "We're her family," Emma shrieked. "Family doesn't commit crimes against each other," Mrs. Rodriguez said quietly. "But it happens more than you'd think," Patricia continued. "Margaret could also file for a restraining order, could testify in family court, could give these recordings to the media. I imagine your employers, your neighbors, your children's school. They'd all be very interested to know how you treat elderly family members." Michael looked like he might throw up. "What do you want?" "What I want," I said, standing up, "is my dignity back. My voice back. My right to be treated like a human being." Patricia nodded. "What we want is a settlement, return of funds, and a guarantee you'll never contact Margaret again." That's when Emma made the biggest mistake of the night. She got angry. Emma stood up, her face twisted with rage. "You ungrateful bitch," she screamed at me. We took you in. We gave you a roof over your head. You'd be dying alone in some state facility if it wasn't for us. Mrs. Rodriguez's pen moved faster across her notepad. You took $73,000, I said calmly. That buys a lot of roofs. You gave that to us. It was a gift. Under false pretenses, Patricia said. That's fraud. Emma turned on Michael. Say something. Defend us. This is your mother trying to ruin our lives. Michael looked at me. Really looked at me. And for just a second I saw the little boy I'd raised. The one who'd hugged me after his first day of school. The one who'd cried when his goldfish died and I'd held him all night. Mom, he whispered. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't give me back 6 months of abuse, I said. Sorry doesn't erase you planning to steal my Social Security. Sorry is what you say when you spill milk, Michael. Not when you destroy your mother's life for a kitchen renovation. His face crumbled. But I wasn't finished. Not even close. Patricia pulled out a document. Here's our settlement offer. You have 48 hours to accept. She read it aloud. Point 1. Michael and Emma Hartwell will return $50,000 to Margaret Hartwell within 30 days. This represents partial repayment of the $73,000 obtained under fraudulent pretenses. $50,000? We don't have that. Emma gasped. Point 2. They will pay Margaret's housing costs for 1 year, while she establishes independent living arrangements. Approximately $18,000. $68,000 total, Patricia said. Less than what you stole, but Margaret is willing to call it even. Point 3. No contact. No calls, no texts, no social media. No showing up at her new residence. Violation results in immediate legal action and release of all recordings to the media and your employers. Point 4. You will sign affidavits admitting to the financial exploitation. These will be held by Margaret's attorney. If you violate the settlement terms, they become public record. Michael's head was in his hands. Emma looked like a cornered animal. Dangerous. Desperate. And if we don't accept? She asked. Patricia smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. If you don't accept, Patricia said, Margaret files criminal charges Monday morning. Adult Protective Services opens a formal investigation. I file a civil lawsuit with a jury demand. And I make sure every newspaper, every local TV station, every mom blog in this city knows exactly what you did. She paused. I'll also make sure your employers know. Michael, you work at Harrison Financial, right? I wonder how they'd feel about an employee who commits financial fraud against his own mother. Emma, you're a school counselor. The irony of someone who's supposed to protect vulnerable people actually abusing them. That's a story that writes itself. You destroy our lives, Emma whispered. You destroyed mine, I said. I'm just giving you consequences. Mrs. Rodriguez stood up. I'll be filing a report regardless. That's mandatory when I see evidence like this. But whether it becomes a criminal investigation depends on your cooperation. The room went silent. Michael was crying now. Actually crying. Part of me, the mother part, the part that had rocked him to sleep 1,000 times, wanted to comfort him. But I stayed seated. Stayed strong. Because that mother who always sacrificed? She's what got me here. Emma looked at Michael. And I saw the moment she decided to try one last manipulation. Michael, honey, Emma said, her voice suddenly soft and sweet. We can't let her do this to our family. Think about Sophia and Jake. Think about their futures. We'll lose everything. She was good. I give her that. She knew exactly how to play him. Mom, Michael said, looking at me with tears streaming down his face. Please. My kids, your grandchildren. They don't deserve this. You used my love for them against me, I said. Every time I asked if I could see them, you said they were busy. Every time I tried to talk to them, you interrupted. You kept them away from me while using them as a shield. They didn't want to see you, Emma said viciously. You embarrassed them. A pathetic old woman shuffling around with her walker, always complaining. Stop, Michael said quietly. Emma looked at him. What? Just stop talking, he said. Everything she said is true. Everything. We did this. I did this. He looked at me. You were right, Mom. I broke my promise. I became someone you shouldn't recognize. Someone I don't recognize. But his moment of honesty came too late. Because I'd already made my choice. I stood up. My hip ached, but I didn't care. You want to know what the worst part was? I asked. It wasn't the cold food. It wasn't the gaslighting or the stealing, or even the plan to take my social security. My voice got stronger. The worst part was feeling invisible. Feeling like I didn't matter. Like I was a burden instead of a human being. Like my decades of sacrifice meant nothing. I looked at Emma. You made me feel worthless in the home I paid for. You served me scraps while eating like royalty on my money. You looked me in the eye and lied every single day. Then I looked at Michael. And you let her. You let her treat me like garbage because it was easier than standing up to your wife. Because you wanted the money too. Because somewhere along the way you forgot that I'm a person. Not just mom. Not just a ATM. A person with feelings and dignity and rights. Patricia stood beside me. Carol took my other side. I'm done being invisible, I said. You have 48 hours. After that, I destroy you. I walked out of that house and I never looked back. But the story doesn't end there. I woke up the next morning and Carol had made pancakes. Real ones. With butter and syrup. I don't remember the last time someone made me breakfast. I said, my voice cracking. Well, get used to it, Carol said. You're staying here as long as you need. No rent, no feeling like a burden. Just two old friends helping each other out. That simple kindness, after months of cruelty, made me cry again. But these were different tears. These were healing tears. My phone buzzed. Text from Michael. Mom, please call me. We need to talk. I showed Patricia. She told me she'd be checking in daily. Don't respond, she advised. Let them sweat. Let them wonder if you're really going through with this. I am going through with it, I said firmly. Even if they pay? Especially if they pay, I said. Because money isn't the point anymore. The point is that they know they can't treat people like this. That I have worth. That I matter. 48 hours felt like forever. But when the deadline came, their lawyer finally called. Patricia called me on Monday evening. They accepted. Full terms. Their lawyer sounded like he'd aged 10 years. My hand started shaking. Really? They're actually going to pay. First installment of $25,000 hits your account in 3 days. Second installment in 30 days. They've already signed the affidavits. The no contact order is in effect immediately. I sat down hard on Carol's couch. I can't believe it worked. It worked because you were brave, Patricia said. Most people in your situation never fight back. They accept the abuse because they're scared or they think they deserve it. You didn't. That night, Carol and I celebrated with wine and cheap takeout Chinese food. What are you going to do now? She asked. I'm 72 years old, I said. I have maybe 10-15 good years left if I'm lucky. And I'm going to spend them living for me. Not for anyone else. Not shrinking. Not apologizing. Just living. That's beautiful, Carol said. You know what else? I smiled. I'm going to tell my story. Because I can't be the only one. There have to be other mothers, other women going through this right now. And that's exactly what I did. But first, I had to face one more ghost. 2 weeks after the settlement was signed, I got a knock on Carol's door. I looked through the peephole. My heart stopped. Sophia. My granddaughter. 16 years old now. I hadn't really talked to her in months. I opened the door slowly. Hi, Grandma, she said. Her eyes were red like she'd been crying. Sophia, you shouldn't be here. The no contact order is between you and my parents, she interrupted. Not me. I looked it up. Fair enough. She was always the smart one. How did you find me? I have my ways, she said. Can I come in? Please. I let her in. Carol made herself scarce, heading to her room to give us privacy. Sophia sat on the couch, twisting her hands together. I didn't know, she said finally, about what they did to you. I mean, I knew something was wrong. I knew Mom was mean to you. But I didn't know about the money, about the plan. Not until the lawyer came. It's not your fault, I said automatically. Yes, it is, she said fiercely. I saw how they treated you and I said nothing. I was embarrassed by you. What she said next broke my heart and healed it at the same time. "I'm so sorry, Grandma," Sophia whispered. "I'm sorry I ignored you. I'm sorry I let them make you feel like you didn't matter. You sacrificed everything for my dad and he threw it away, and I watched it happen." She was crying now. This beautiful girl who looked so much like Michael did at her age. "I moved out," she said. "I'm staying with my friend Ashley. Her parents said I could stay as long as I need. I can't be in that house anymore. Not after what I know." "Sophia, you don't have to." "Yeah, I do," she said. "Because if I stay, I'm saying what they did was okay. And it's not okay. It's never going to be okay." I hugged her then. Held her tight. "You're so brave," I whispered. "Braver than your father." "I learned from the best," she said. "You stood up to them. A 72-year-old woman with a walker took them down. That's the bravest thing I've ever seen." We talked for 2 hours. About everything. About her dreams, her fears, her anger at her parents. And slowly, something broken inside me started to mend. Because I realized something important. I hadn't lost everything. I'd lost people who never really loved me. But I'd found myself again. 6 months later. I'm sitting in my own apartment. Small, but it's mine. I bought furniture I like. Decorated with colors that make me happy. No one tells me where I can or can't go. The money from the settlement gave me breathing room. I stretched it with budgeting skills I learned from those years of surviving on nothing. I volunteer now at a senior center, helping other elderly people understand their rights. Telling my story. Helping them find their voices. Patricia connected me with organizations that fight elder abuse. I speak at community centers, churches, anywhere that will listen. And Sophia? She visits every Sunday. We make dinner together. Real dinners. We laugh. We talk. She's applying to colleges now, wants to study social work. Says I inspired her. Michael tried to reach out once through a mutual friend. I declined. Some bridges once burned should stay ashes. Emma sent a Facebook friend request 6 months after everything. I blocked her. But here's what I learned. It's never too late to stand up for yourself. Never too late to demand respect. Never too late to say no more. I'm 73 now. And I'm finally free. If you're going through something similar, if someone in your family is making you feel small, invisible, worthless, please hear me. You are not a burden. You are not too old to matter. You are not selfish for wanting basic human dignity. And you are not alone. Stand up. Speak up. Find your people. Find your voice. Because you deserve so much more than cruelty. And to every person watching this who knows someone being treated like I was, check on them. Believe them. Help them. Be their Carol, their Patricia, their Sophia. Be the person who says, I see you and you matter. Because we all matter. No matter our age. No matter our circumstances. We all deserve to live with dignity, respect, and love. That's my story. That's my truth. And I'm not ashamed of it anymore. I'm proud. Proud that I fought back. Proud that I survived. Proud that I'm using my voice to help others find theirs. Thank you for listening. And remember, it's never too late to roar.